Good evening, good afternoon, and good morning to those across the pond. I'm your host tonight, Bro Talk on Reporting Eligible. Another episode on Wednesday night. Thank you guys so much for being here. And tonight's show, it's just going to be me. Uh, you guys keep your thoughts on Berto. He's going through some personal things. Not really sure when he's going to be back, but just keep him in your thoughts. Um, and hey, Berto, if you see this, bro, we're thinking about you. But I know what Berto would say. The show must go on. Hence why I am here tonight. And we are going to talk about our Atlanta Falcons, our beloved Atlanta Falcons, and everything that's going on. As the title says, the Falcons have hit rock bottom. I don't know what else to say. And it was a discussion point last night when I was on the roundtable. Is there were expectations this year, and it just fell all the way to the bottom when the Falcons lost to the Jets last week. It doesn't seem like any type of momentum can be made. Just like you have that opportunity to beat one bad team, you do that, and then you go into New York, New Jersey, right? Another bad team. You have an opportunity to stack wins, maybe carry some momentum into this week, and you can't even do that. It's it's just astounding. And there are a lot of reports saying, like from Jeremy Fowler of ESPN, that Raheem Morris may be back next year. Like, I want you guys to prepare yourselves for Raheem Morris to be here next year. It really, truly can happen. And I've been saying that for a few weeks now because it's not Arthur Blank's style to just pull the plug. And if you think about it in a broader picture, it's hard for players schematically to get comfortable, to know the ins and outs of what you're asking them to do when you're continuously rotating coaches. So I just want you guys to fully prepare yourselves for another year of Raheem Morris. Guys, Silk, April, Lisa, all you guys that are here, thank you so much for being here. It's it's one of the more frustrating seasons that I can remember, probably since 2020, that COVID year where Dan Quinn was essentially let go. There were no expectations though that year though. We just wanted to win, and it was like every week the Falcons found new ways to lose. Well, coming into 2025, there were tons of expectations for this team, right? The roster was ready. Could the roster be better? Absolutely. But it had enough pieces to where you could stack wins, right? The Falcons have been in 6 one-score games, and in those 6 games, they are 1-5. Could it be luck? Could it be coaching? Could it be the way the ball rolls? There are so many variables each game that you split those 6 games and you go 3-3. Well, now you're arguing, hey, the Falcons have a legitimate shot at winning the NFC South title and making the playoffs. Because even though the Buccaneers started off 6-2, they lost 3 straight before breaking that losing streak, right? They were 6-5, staring at 6-6, and potentially the Panthers leaping them in the division lead. So this division is still wide open. So then that begs the question for Arthur Blank is like, what what are you gonna do, dude? The only real way I should say that I think Arthur Blank does make a change is if the Falcons lose out. Right? You finish the season, what is it, 4-13. You now have a top 5 pick that you don't own. You gave it to a potential Super Bowl team. Hey, thank you for noticing. My wife put a lot of time and effort into this. So shout out to my wife putting together this Christmas tree for the holidays. But in all seriousness, like, what is it going to take for Arthur Blank to make change, to just hit that cultural reset button? And we all know as fans, right? The outside media doesn't think about this, but we see it day in and day out. There will be no cultural shift or change until Rich McKay is gone. Like, completely. I'm not talking about oh, he's not in football operations. No, it's like He's scraped off the payroll. Thanks for your time. Not really, but go find another job. And then at that point, okay, now Arthur Blank is serious, but I don't think that's going to happen under Arthur Blank. I think it's going to be until his son takes over. What do you got for me, Lisa? To me, rock bottom was the game versus Carolina at the Benz. When we lost, Bijan was on the sidelines in tears. I hated seeing him like that. He tried to carry us on his back, but it wasn't enough. Like it wasn't enough when Drake got 3 touchdowns and we still lost. To your point, Bijan, nearly 200 yards of all purpose, 200 all purpose yards last week. That wasn't enough. Like you look at that stat line and you're like, dang, the Falcons must have won, right? No. Like those are the most frustrating. Like if I were in Bijan's shoes, I'd be so angry that tears start rolling down my eyes because you're giving it your all. You're putting your body on the line. You are trying to will this team to victory, but it's always something when this it's always something when this team is on the verge of winning that causes them not to. And last week, the glaring issue of special teams reared its ugly face again. Like we talk about this week in and week out, that special teams is by far the worst of all the 3 phases. And that's saying a lot because the offense hasn't been great all year, but the offense has kind of turned the page because Kirk Cousins is playing okay football, right? We're not expecting Kirk Cousins to be a superstar, but he is a game manager, and that's exactly what he did last week and the week prior, right? Game manager, let your superstars take over and win you the game. So why is Marquise Williams still here? Like, really and truly, I love that Joe Patrick asked that hard question to Raheem. If you guys didn't see the quote, he asked Raheem, you fired Ike Hilliard after week 3, called it a performance firing. What's the difference between Marquise Williams? Because his third of the football team is not performing. And it was real head scratching and real kind of like you shake your head like Raheem's response. It was a communication problem, and it's why Ike Hilliard was fired. What does that even mean? How is that any different than Marquise Williams? You're communicating, hey, you need to get this corrected. But it's still not. It's still not. Just when you think you have momentum, okay, we just went up a touchdown. Let's get a stop on defense that we know this year we have that defense that can make that stop. Get that 3 and out. There were so many times the defense got 3 and outs. But yet you give momentum back and life back when you give up a huge kickoff return, a huge punt return. You miss a PAT or a field goal this week. Zane Gonzalez, hey, that was a tough situation. I don't put full blame on him. But at the same time, it's like, how is this still an issue in week 14? We're going into week 14 and we're talking about it, and it still hasn't been fixed. Let's look at here. What do you got? I think keeping Raheem with a new OC like Mike McDaniels or Brian Dable only to keep Ulbrich defense. So, guys, if Raheem is retained, like this is a great avenue, great comment by you. The only way you truly see like, okay, maybe this could work with Raheem is if he is retained, is if he cleans house on certain coaches, right? We touched base on it, right? Zach Robinson, he's got to go. The Oklahoma State job got filled. That was probably his only way to get a head coaching job at any level. You got to get rid of him. Just like D'Amico Ryans did with Bobby Slowick after year 2. You just have to. It's not working. There's no flow. And, you fix one problem, but another problem arises, right? Red zone was an issue. You fix red zone. But now third down's an issue, and you can't fix it. The Falcons are the league's worst since week 7 on converting on third downs. The worst. Let's see. What do you got, Bones? I'm curious if the personnel on special teams is significantly worse compared to the team's years Williams had good special teams units. That's a fair assessment because I never watched special teams tape. Like that's nothing. I mainly focused on the offense or the defense or both, certain weeks. But I finally started watching the special teams tape, kickoffs in particular, and it's like, why can't is this Jamal Agnew's fault that he can't break a big return on kickoffs? Why are other teams getting huge chunks on kickoffs? The big thing that I've seen is on kickoff returns, why Agnew can't make a return. It's not him, honestly. In my opinion, it's not Agnew. It's the blocking up in front. You either have number 40 that can't block, Charlie Werner misses a block, Tegan Quintaro, I think that's how you say his name, miss a block. Like, there are a multitude of players that just cannot block on special teams. I just don't understand. You practice. How can you not block? And then on the returns, they do some form. I don't know if this is taught or it's just the players doing it on their own. On the ends, they do like a little twist stunt to try and confuse the blockers for whatever reason. It never works. And there's no lane integrity on any type of kickoff when they're trying to rally and tackle. There's none. So then you look at coaching. Yes, maybe to Bones' point, the personnel isn't as good as it was on special teams, right? But then we get into the quote of Raheem Morris. Why was Kaderil Hodge a healthy scratch? Well, it was based off what happened in practice. Okay. I could see that on a first or second year player. Hey, you're not giving full effort in practice. You're not going to play then. Okay, that makes sense. That's tough coaching. That's kind of a wake up call. Hey, young man, this is the NFL. You got to buckle down and get your job done. But we're talking about Pro Bowl Kaderil Hodge, probably your best special teams player besides Felipe Franks. And I will say Felipe Franks did get hurt this past game, so maybe that's why it was bad. I can't believe I'm praising Felipe Franks, but he is a really good special teams player and he brings an attitude to that unit. But healthy scratch Kaderil Hodge because of practice. Like, do you not want to win games? Like, you must know that your job is on the line. So you scratch the best guy of the weakest unit of the three. The three phases, the weakest of the three, you scratch your best player. The reason you signed Mike Ford to be opposite of Kaderil Hodge, because Mike Ford has been a great special teams player in addition, right? He deserves to be in the Pro Bowl for special teams, how well he's been playing, making tackles, recovering fumbles, you name it. The guy gets the job done and he takes pride in his work. Kaderil Hodge does the same thing. And it's not like we're running 10 personnel, right? And we're not running 11 consistently. We were heavy 12 again. You're telling me that Kaderil Hodge couldn't come in a few reps with Darnell Mooney and David Sills, your two top receivers this past game? Makes zero sense. I did like what Devin Tompkins brought a little juice and a little speed, which is great. But coverage has been the problem in special teams. It's rough. What you got? Raheem is gone. We had 5 coaches come in. Belichick, trash. Mike Vrabel, okay. Mike McDonald, Ben Johnson, Jim Harbaugh. With the exception with Belichick, all these coaches are winning in their first season. Yeah. So, unfortunately for us as the fans, we don't know what those conversations look like, right? Because Raheem supposedly wasn't the first choice. It was between Ben Johnson and Mike Vrabel. Like, those were the two guys besides Bill Belichick, right? We all know the report that Arthur Blank wanted Bill Belichick, but he was talked off that edge of the cliff. But it, I don't know what Arthur Blank said, right? Why would they not take the jobs? Maybe they were just going through the process and seeing, because Ben Johnson not only turned our job down, but he turned other jobs down to rejoin the Lions. And Mike Vrabel decided not to coach, if I'm not mistaken. He was in the Browns organization being some sort of like, I can't remember what his position was, but then when the Patriots position came open, well then yeah, that was kind of like, oh yeah, that's Mike Vrabel's job once he interviewed for it. Um and they fell back on Raheem, right? like I said, the only way Raheem is truly fired, in my opinion, because I do think right now he's at about an 80% chance of being fired. It's if they lose out, or if they only win one out of these last four, 1-3, then you go 5-12, right? And that I think that's when it's fired. Like you can't go into next season with him back and then fire him after week 4, after week 5. Then you just lost another season. You have players that are coming up on contracts. Drake London, right? Bijan's going to be eligible for an extension. Um, Michael Penix coming back. Kirk Cousins. What are you going to do with him? Is the new regime going to keep him? Like there are a lot of glaring holes after this season. So if you're going to bring back Raheem, right? Because supposedly he's lost the locker room after firing Ike Hilliard, after letting go of Ray Ray. Like we don't know the whole details, right? We probably won't until maybe this offseason. Like, how can you justify bringing this man back? That's if he goes 8-9, right? Right now he's 4-8, so he would have to win 4 out of the last 5. There's 5 games left. I thought there was 4. No, there's 5 games left, right? 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. Yeah, 5 games. So he would have to go 4-1 in these last games. Yeah, you play the Bucks again, who you almost beat. Kirk's known to beat the Buccaneers. You have the Rams. You have the Seahawks this week. You have the Aints one more time, so maybe that's a win. And then you have the Cardinals, who are a scrappy team regardless of their record. Like they are a better team, personally, in my opinion, than the Atlanta Falcons at this point. Like Jonathan Gannon, I think, is doing a really good job. It's just they haven't won those one-score games. What's up, Coach's Corner? Appreciate you. Happy holidays to everyone in the chat. What do you got, Bones? I'm sure Terry is going to get caught up in the crossfire. And to me, the GM hire then would be the most important hire, assuming blank actually lets the new GM hire the new head coach for once. Again, cultural shift, changing your methodology to hopefully get a different result, because what you're doing right now, Arthur Blank, is not working. It really isn't. And I do think that if Raheem is fired, Terry will be fired as well. Say what you will about Terry, like him, hate him, or not. The track record from really bad GM to getting his drafts right, like this year, 4 starters on the defensive side of the ball, to ascending edge rushers and ascending safety, 5th in voting and Pro Bowl right now. Like, okay, the contracts, that's where you get, right? The Kirk contract. Darnell's Mooney last year was like, oh, that's contract's a steal, but now this year he's not living up to that contract. Giving out Jake Matthews another contract, not saying he's not worth the money, but hey, when are you going to get younger at the position? Same thing with Caleb McGarry. Unfortunately, he suffered that knee injury. And then you've got contracts coming up, right? Kyle Pitts, however you feel about him, right? He's up on a contract. Tyler Algier. You have Caden Ellis. D. Alfred's going to be a free agent again. Jesse Bates is on his last year. What do you do with him? Like, there's so many variables to the GM position. And like I said, regardless how you feel with Terry, in my opinion, I think he has gotten better as he has gone along, because he has learned from his mistakes and maybe he stops overthinking the position. But at the same time, guys, you have to remember the GM is told by the head coach. The head coach gives the vision. This is what I want my football team to be. These are the type of players I want. And then it's up to the GM and his scouts to go find those players for the coach who they think is the best, but at the same time communicating with the head coach and the coordinators on who is going to be a part of the team, and so forth. So I think Arthur Smith has had a huge hand in those early drafts, because he had to say, like, I want this guy on my team. I want that guy. Yes, let's get that guy. Okay, that guy got drafted. Let's get the next guy on the board. Like those type of decisions. Ultimately, it's Terry, right? It's his name on it. But you guys have to remember that that's how it's all tied in together. What do we got here? I agree with the coaching change. I don't like what I'm seeing, but let Kirk play out his contract like originally planned. This was supposed to be a Rodgers to Love situation with Kirk and Penix. So I think the original plan, right, was the 2 years, right? That heavy part of the contract that they knew they were going to have to pay out to Kirk. That's when he was going to be the starter, and Michael was going to be a work in progress. But if their plan was for Michael to strictly be in the pistol, there was no plan. Like that first week when they were going under center, running play action, like all these things we've been asking for Kirk, it's like, why weren't you doing that with Michael? And it's like, oh, well, Michael likes pistol. Great, great. Kirk loved play action pass last year, but then you forced him to run the pistol. Like that doesn't make any sense. You need to implement your vision. And if Michael was the guy, then he should be able to run your vision. And if not, well, you drafted the wrong guy. What you got? I think for the health of the franchise, you have to bring him back because this will be the fourth coach in 6 years. So that brings up another valid point: continuity. Yes, like I understand the temperature of the fan base. Me personally, change. If you change, who is that change going to be? Are you taking a chance on like a Clint Kubiak, who, let's say, he accepts the job? This is a first time head coach. What are the odds you get a Mike McDonald's type coach, a Ben Johnson type coach that is actually successful in his first year? That you don't know, right? Because you're the one giving him the chance. It's that's why I also think Arthur might bring back Raheem because he's like, I'm tired of changing coaches. We need to get something, but that hard conversation might be like, you need to make changes on your staff to make yourself better. And I think the first one is going to be Zach, and I think the second one's going to be Dwayne Ledford. If Raheem was the guy, why didn't AB retain him after his interim tag expired after firing Dan Quinn? His record as a head coach is trash. You are what your record says. Now, I always like to argue, I'm in my mid 30s. Am I the same person I was 15 years ago? No. I've grown significantly. I have more pride in my integrity. I have more pride in doing the right thing, and I put my pride aside when I don't know what's going on or what I can do to better, and I accept constructive criticism. The same could be said for Raheem. Now, I can't speak for him because I don't know him as a person, but you got to allow people to grow. You can't put them in the bubble that they were 15 years ago. Now, as far as why he wasn't retained, it could be so many different scenarios, right? Arthur maybe did think back to 15 years ago. Man, when he was head coach, he didn't do well, right? And it was said Raheem in that interview was already talking post Matt Ryan. What is your plan past Matt Ryan? Because Matt Ryan is getting to that point where he's going to hang him up soon. And I don't think Arthur Blank liked that because Matt Ryan was the franchise guy. Matt Ryan was the guy, right? And I think part of the agreement for Arthur Smith was, hey, you got to run it with Matt. And Arthur said, I can do it with Matt. And he did. Like Matt had a good season, right? Had some ups, had some downs. New offense, right? You expected it with a new head coach, some bumps in the road. But then the trade happened, right? And then that's when the kind of the wheels fell off. And then I think that's when Raheem was like, I told you. Oh, I got dessert. Thank you. All right, guys. On the menu is a apple cranberry crumble that my wife made with some whipped cream. We'll enjoy that here in a little bit. Um, so there's so many things that go into a decision. It's not as simple as like Madden, like this is what I want, this is what I want, this is what we're gonna do, right? So many things happen because this is real life. Can we trade our head coach and OC for a happy meal? I think that's not enough. Maybe the OC only, but the head coach, I want at least a nice dinner. Exactly. The coaches didn't do their jobs. They had time to teach. Well said. What we got? Fire Raheem. Personally, I have a gut that Arthur Blank will reach out to Dion. Don't laugh. All I'm saying is don't be surprised. I don't think so. For the sake of Arthur is not young anymore. He wants to win. He's getting up there in age, and we don't know how much longer he's going to have as the owner before he hands the keys off to his son. So if he was younger, maybe I would say, okay, maybe this is more realistic. Well, probably not. I don't. I think the likelihood of that happening is very small. Competent coaching matters, right? Hence why Zach Robinson. What are you doing here? Yeah, you could say that. What's good, bro? Talk. Sorry I'm late. Hey, no worries, man. Appreciate you all guys being here. Um, it's gonna be an interesting off season, right? You want to stack the wins because you don't want to let the media be right. The Falcons traded, they're dummies. They traded that first round pick. Look, it's a top 5 pick. Blah blah blah. The thing that they don't look about it, they don't look at is that James Pierce Jr. is going to be a cornerstone of this defense, along with Jalen Walker. James Pierce Jr. the last 4 games has 4.5 sacks. He has more than Jared Verse did last year as a rookie. Both him and Jalen Walker have 5 sacks and lead all rookie edge rushers in sacks. That's more than last year's Defensive Player of the Year. So he's ascending, and I'm starting to see him kind of unravel that bag. That little chop spin move that he had on Membo that got the sack, rookie on rookie crime. Like, that's the type of evolution you like to see from your rookie. Let's see. So coaches bring the best out of their players. So get rid of Morris, bring Kubiak. I see Super Bowl in the near future. You could argue that, right? And if you're right, you're right. But if you're wrong, hey, now we're in the hole again, right? We're in the hole again. Now we're having to like reassess, and I think that's why Arthur Blank, like, he doesn't want to do that. He doesn't want to do that. Yes, sir. Tyler for Pro Bowl, guys. Pro Bowl voting is open. We know that this is a popularity contest. We have to ensure that the players on our team that have rightfully earned the right to call themselves a Pro Bowler get in. No other running back duo has 7+ touchdowns on the season than Bijan. It's only Bijan Robinson and Tyler Algier. Get Tyler in the Pro Bowl. He deserves it this year. He's playing out of his mind this year. Same thing with Bijan, Drake, Chris Lindstrom, right? Get our defensive guys in the Pro Bowl. It's up to us as fans to get them in there. Remember, Pro Bowl voting is live. Get in there, and you can vote more than once. Spam it. Let's show the world that our Atlanta Falcons, record aside, deserve to be in there solely on their play. Pierce is proving them wrong every day. I agree. What does Raheem do well? I'll wait for your response. Raheem, I think, and again, this is me speculating. I don't know him. I think Raheem has a good vision. I just think his vision was blocked by himself. Right? We wanted to give him the benefit of the doubt of hiring 2 first-year coordinators, right? It's the same thing that goes, guys, first-year head coach. We saw what the first-year coordinators did, right? James Lake, gone. Jeff Ulbrich, someone with experience. Okay, now we're seeing progress. Zach Robinson, first-year play caller, not great. You saw moments of flashes where you were like, okay, maybe we can do things with this guy. Year 2, no. So you're taking the chances that Raheem took with coordinators. Now you're saying, let's take that chance with a coach. That you just don't know how it's going to play out. I don't, and neither do you. Am I wrong in thinking this is one of the most mediocre head coaching pools in this offseason in recent history? I agree with you, Bones. And that's another reason why I think that Arthur Blank may not make the move, because it's mediocrity. Unless someone, I don't want Mike Tomlin, guys. If Mike Tomlin comes available, I just don't think, I think he's past like being that elite type of coach. But if someone like, let's say, Matt LaFleur says, you know what, I need a change of scenery, kind of like Andy Reid did when he was in Philly. If Kevin Stefanski says that, that's when you're like, okay, let's get rid of Raheem. Let's get these guys that have proven that they can win. And even though the Browns aren't very good, Kevin Stefanski, I think, won Coach of the Year back-to-back years with the Browns. He helped them get to the playoffs with Baker Mayfield. Like, he can win with better rosters, right? He got that Deshaun Watson contract that he's stuck with. They can take their lips and kiss all, because I don't care what pick we have, JPJ is worth to get. Yep. Chew gum. Hey man. So does what's his name? Pete Carroll. He does. We got a squad, need coaches. Bijan Tyler Pro Bowl. Lies good. Yep. Kubiak has playoffs and Super Bowl experience with that talent. Hey, guess what? So did Raheem in Los Angeles. Guess what? Raheem Morris is a Super Bowl winning defensive coordinator. Like, your argument, you're saying the same thing for Raheem. He had talent. He had Aaron Donald. He had Jalen Ramsey. He was able to coach a defense to win the Super Bowl. right? So everything you're saying, Raheem Morris has done. Raheem is an embarrassment to coaching profession. Period. Nah, I don't think he's that bad. I get we're upset, but there are guys that are a lot worse than Raheem. What do we got? He's a motivator, supposedly. Right, supposedly. You guys, I'm trying to catch up to all these. I'm trying to catch up to all these comments. Love it, guys. Love it. At some point, you have to let someone come in the building, regardless of who you hire. So, are you guys okay with that? Like, really and truly, think about this. Think of yourself as a fan. If you fired Raheem, and let's say you hired Clint Kubiak, right? Let's say you hired Clint Kubiak. He hires his staff, right? Let's say we don't do well. Let's say it's another top 5 pick, but this time we have it right in the 2027 draft. Are you okay with that? Right? We have the talent. That's where I'm leading at. I'm not saying that Clint Kubiak can't be a good coach, but I'm also putting into perspective for you guys. He could be the opposite of what you think he is. He could be a great offensive play caller, but he's not ready to be that head coach like maybe his dad was. So then if you want someone, hey, get someone with experience. Brian Flores has head coaching experience, right? He sees talent, right? He built a great defense in Minnesota. He wanted Tua out because he saw the issues, right? Tua's not that great, so maybe he has a good eye. I want you guys to temper expectations because if we fire Raheem, we could potentially be a bad football team for a while, but then on the other side of the coin, we could be a very good football team for a long time. But I think ultimately it starts with Rich McKay's departure, which I don't think is going to happen anytime soon. Did you already speak on Ray Ray's most recent comments? No, I mean Ray Ray's kind of beating around the bush. At this point, I think he should just flat out say, why was he sent home? Why were you cut? Right? Even if he embellishes and doesn't tell the 100% truth, let us know. Quit beating around the bush. Like what do you have to lose at this point? Because I don't even think he's on a roster right now. Like, screw it, Ray Ray. Tell us what happened. We would love to know. And Ike Hilliard's kind of like gone. He's disappeared. Right? He's living his life. Sure, he's making money off that contract he signed. I don't think any coach would be dumb enough to hire first-time coordinators. I don't know, but there are head coaches that would have told you that Desmond Ritter can get you to the playoffs. I'm just saying, right? I'm just saying. There's also first-time head coaches that get coordinators like Dean Pease out of retirement, expecting him to do well, and then he doesn't. So I'm not. Hey, guys, this is not a defend Raheem. I'm just trying to give you guys the other side of the coins of what you're saying, right? So you can kind of see both sides. I'm a no to anyone who has never been a head coach before or even has a no winning record. Absolutely not. In 26 years, we haven't had one yet. There you go. There you go. Uh, what's up, man? Welcome in. Ray Ray on the Giants, I think. Maybe he's on the practice squad. Not to put my tinfoil hat on, but this Rams connection of Rich McKay's son, John, first round pick, Faber, and Raheem Morris. Hey, potentially, right? Everyone wants to talk about Terry's, involvement with that 30 franchise and NOLA and how he was a Trojan horse for this team, right? If he was a Trojan horse, he wouldn't have drafted Jalen Walker and James Pierce Jr. But that does bring a good point because John McKay is a part of that Rams organization. I'm sure a phone call was made between the two that actually made the trade happen because it is a little strange that the Rams were the one that traded with them, right? So you can go into the conspiracies, right? It's all about who you know and how that relationship is on getting stuff done, right? You saw it in Hard Knocks when Dan Morgan and Joe Schoen have that relationship and how they were able to make a trade happen for Brian Burns. So it's all about who you know. As long as Rich McKay's in that building pretending he knows everything, nothing will permanently change for the better. And I agree. I agree. If there's one person that I think just like 100% get out of there, it's him. It's him. Who are some GM candidates we're thinking of, and do we trust Do we trust to give them full control in hiring the head coach? To be honest with you, Bones, I haven't done a full extensive research on potential candidates, but I always say look at the franchises that are successful in building rosters. You want to poach someone from that organization that has a good reputation in what they do, right? um, the Ravens, the Eagles, the Kansas City Chiefs, the Los Angeles Rams, right? That's why people are nervous to go to the Rams. But hey, Les Snead does a great job. But then that begs the question: does John McKay become the GM? That becomes a nightmare scenario for the Falcons. But you look at those winning franchises, and I think that's where you kind of start the conversation on bringing in, right? Thomas Dimitroff was a part of that Patriots organization, got us a roster built to where we were able to make 2 NFC title games. We made it to the Super Bowl once. So that's what you're looking for. Rich McCabe never liked him, not in one single instance. You want to talk about firing a guy that has proven that he can't get the job done? This man was fired as the Buccaneers GM and the Falcons GM. And you're still listening to him on how things should operate with your football team. Like, how does that make any sense, Arthur? Maybe that's why he'll keep Raheem too. I don't know. And if that's a big if the Rams go to the Super Bowl, let alone win. I mean, they are Super Bowl favorites, but they are beatable, right? Our division rival, the Carolina Panthers, proved that they can be beaten on any day as long as they come back down to earth. The sooner that we admit it was a mistake to hire Raheem, the better off our team would be moving forward. Well, I think once the firing does happen, yeah, I mean, you could say, I think everyone will say, yeah, it was a mistake. I think a lot of people initially, right? I am the type of person that will give benefit of the doubt, right? Unless I strongly feel a certain type of way. But I know a lot of the fan base, a lot of the media were like, when he was hired, I was shocked, right? That's not the guy I wanted. That's not the guy I expected. But I was like, okay, here we go. Let's get to work. Um, but a lot of the fan base and the media were like, this is one of the worst decisions you could have made, right? And so far they're being proven right because Raheem Morris has yet to put together a winning season. It's tough times right now for the Falcons, right? You want to talk about the games, you want to talk about the roster construction, you want to talk about the now, but unfortunately we're in a situation where we can't, because even if you win out, you win 5 straight, you go 9-8, and hey, hooray, first winning season since 2017. Feels great, but it doesn't feel great unless you make the playoffs. Now, I'll ask you this, guys. Let me ask you this. And I have a hunch on how you guys are going to respond. If Raheem Morris and the Falcons win out, go 9-8, and somehow, and I think this is a very small likelihood, somehow sneak in as the 7th seed in the playoffs, are you okay bringing him back, or do you still want change? I'm going to wait for you guys to respond. I'm going to take a bite to eat while you guys respond. Let's see what you guys have to say. I love this dessert. All right, we got some answers coming. Still on the fire Raheem train. Lisa still wants change. The John Old must go. I don't know what that means. Can you explain it to me? His ego has been exposed. I will fired still. Okay. We lost to subpar teams. That's why I want him out of here. So Lisa, remember, if they win out, they would then have beaten the Seahawks, the Buccaneers, and the Rams. Does that offset losing to those subpar teams? Right? Does it do any of that for you? Because these are some top teams in the NFL. 2 of the top teams in the NFC. The Buccaneers are kind of doing this right now, but they're still the leader in our division. Depends what those wins look like, but there's no turnaround that would justify bringing this offensive staff back, other than Michael Pitre. If you guys don't know, that's the running backs coach. I guess so. Raheem's first name is actually DeJohnold. Oh, I didn't know that. Are you pulling my leg, or are you being for real? Nah, we got embarrassed too many times, even with wins against good teams. So you guys still have that sour taste in your mouth that you say no matter the result, if we win out and still get a winning season, you still need to go. What does Lisa have? Nope, bro talk. I'm standing firm. I don't see us beating both Seattle and the Rams. No, and then don't take me wrong, Miss Lisa. I think we lose those games. But what I'm saying is you mentioned that we lost to subpar teams. If in that odd scenario, that very slim scenario that we beat both of these two NFC juggernauts, does that change your view on Raheem? Does it have to be convincing wins? Like let's say we win 34-14 against one of these. Like, does that change your opinion on it? Because this is the NFL after all, and it's a week in, week out league, right? Obviously, this is one of the most like weird seasons. You expect one team to do well, and then they just lay an egg and lose to someone they shouldn't. Like last week, bro, I do weekly picks, and I went 0-4 to start, bro. I picked the Chiefs, I picked the Lions, I picked the Ravens, and then I picked the Eagles, and they all lost. It's a little embarrassing for me, but hey, it's the NFL. What are you gonna do? We were too harsh on Arthur Smith. Not really, because guess what? He chose Marcus Mariota as his quarterback, the guy that quit on the team. He chose Desmond Ritter, who obviously was not ready to be that guy. Maybe he could have been a serviceable backup, but you threw him into the fire, and then your next solution was to have Taylor Heineke. Like if Arthur Smith was still here, you know who our quarterback would be? It would probably be Justin Fields. How would you feel about that? We see what Justin Fields is in New York. He got benched. How would you feel about that? Because really and truly, Arthur would want himself a mobile quarterback, and that's who was available at that time. Possibly Russell Wilson could have come to Atlanta. Like, what do you think there? Because Kirk Cousins, I don't think would have been his guy. What's good, bro? Talk can't win. Can't wait for the NFC South to actually be good again in 2026. I don't know, man. We'll see. So if you had to pick a coach, so if you had a pick for a coach, whom would it be? If I'm being honest with you, if I had my say, it would be Matt LaFleur. Like honestly, it's very unlikely he gets let go at this point because the Packers are on the upward trajectory. I had them as my preseason Super Bowl winner. Um, but the next realistic option, I think, would be Kevin Stefanski. Like I think Kevin Stefanski could be a guy that says, I need change. I am tired of being in Cleveland. I'm tired of doing this. I want to go coach somewhere else. If he becomes available, you go and get him. Because I know we like Jeff Ulbrich and we want to keep him, but you potentially bring over Jim Schwartz, who's one of the best defensive minds in the entire NFL. And he would utilize James Pierce Jr., Jalen Walker, Brandon Dorlus, Rook Oro, Divine Diop. Like he would have these guys ready to go. Like, do you guys know how good the Browns defense is? It's just the Browns offense that offensive line is old. They don't have the right quarterback. It's bad right there. I would say Kevin Stefanski if it were me. That wouldn't be good, but I would say with this team, Arthur would at least have a direction offensively. But what about defensively? I don't know, man. Kubiak? I think Kubiak is the next Giants head coach, if I'm being honest with you. He probably sees Jackson Dart and he's salivating. Tomlin, I don't want Tomlin. I honestly they could see him take that Penn State job, honestly. That's a good pick, and he is also under Kubiak tree, right? He yes, you're right. Gary Kubiak. He's also he was under the Mike Zimmer tree, right? I'm pretty sure he was the OC for the Vikings back in the day. So Stefanski knows how to win. Not saying Smith was good, but damn, does Raheem has me feeling nostalgic for Smith. Yeah, it's because there were moments where it looked like Arthur Smith was gonna have some winning seasons, right? Also, bro, talk. I threw in an LOL, a slight sarcasm. Oh, okay, I gotcha. I think Stefanski on offense has some of the same issue Raheem does in hiring bad coaches. Can you elaborate on that, Bones? How would you say he has the same issues per se? Because when he had Baker Mayfield, David Njoku, Nick Chubb, like that offensive line was younger. They made the playoffs and they whooped a Ben Roethlisberger, a Steelers team. So I'm just curious. No, we're not hiring Dan Quinn. Stop. That ship has sailed. Why is this situation such a catch-22? But I say fire Raheem. He has thrown people under the bus, and his ego is probably his downfall. Yeah, I mean, I'm not disagreeing with you. That's a fair argument. It. He's lost. When you lose the fan base, it's hard to win them back, right? We're at a point in the season where you really cannot win them back because no matter what, even if you go 9-8, we were just talking about it. Even if you go 9-8, people still want you out of here. Could Nat Shaw be on the coaching staff? No. Get out of here. Unless, no. Uh, no, no, no. The only former player I want in the staff is not going to be on the staff, and that's Matt Ryan. He's happy at CBS calling games. He's really good at what he does. Like, I don't think there's any former player, good former player, that would want to come into this situation. I know Dion was brought up, but I don't think it happens. No, no Matt Schaub. What we got here? I get firing Raheem is the big splashy thing now, but the biggest problem is the OC. Who do you see getting the OC job? So at this point, you would have to look at someone with experience, right? It's what he did with Jeff Ulbrich, right? Even though he's his friend, right? He brought in Jeff because Jeff had experience calling a defense, and he had a good defense in New York. And so he brought him in, right? He got the players Jeff wanted on defense. We see the translation. Does the defense get leaky at times and give up some plays? Yes. It's the NFL. It's not an elite defense. It's a better defense, right? We're third in the league in sacks. So there's that. So at the same time, that's why I think Raheem could stay because he could make the argument like, look, I learned from my mistake on defense. I'm going to learn from my mistake on offense. So I know Bones has said Doug Peterson, right? A lot of experience right there. You could bring in an Eric Bieniemy, who's a running back coach in Chicago, who's under Ben Johnson, right? You could bring in Clint Kubiak's brother, Clay Kubiak, who's the offensive coordinator under Kyle Shanahan. He's now under the Shanahan tree, and he learned from his dad. So there are options, but you have to. Clay Kubiak would be a first-time play caller, even though he has the title of OC. He doesn't call plays. So there is potential. No, 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 Mike McCarthy. Please tell me how you or anyone is okay with another first time or retread head coach in 26 years. That's definition. I look, I'm not saying I'm okay with it. I'm not. But if you don't see change, you have to make change, right? And that's why, like, the Seahawks took a chance on Mike McDonald after having Pete Carroll for so many years. It worked out. Look at them now. They are a top 3, maybe top 2 team in the NFC. Ben Johnson, very successful OC. Let's take a chance at head coach. It worked. So you just don't know. That's the thing. It's uncertainty. It's real life. To elaborate, Stefanski doesn't have any noteworthy coaches on offense outside of Bill Callahan. And he's gone through multiple bad OCs and offensive line coaches after Callahan. Even if he's calling plays, he needs a good support system, in my opinion. Hey, you know what? That's a fair argument. That's a very fair argument, and it kind of dissuades me because I didn't look at it in depth like that. That would say, yeah, Stefanski can build a good staff because that was Raheem's issue, right? He didn't build a good staff, right? He fired his defensive line coach and his defensive coordinator and hired a new one. Part of his problem was retaining guys from Arthur Smith's era. Why is TJ Yates still here? Dwayne Ledford, why are you still here? Like, those guys should have been gone. You should have hired guys for the vision you had on offense or the vision Zach had on offense. Maybe Zach's being crippled. I mean, I don't think so. But maybe in his first year he was. I don't know. I just want someone that can scheme and adjust. Same, brother. Same. Same. I miss Kyle Shanahan in that aspect. Now we can't have a first-time play caller. Clint Kubiak was a first-time play caller. Did pretty good in New Orleans in his first year. Just saying. Would love Eric Bieniemy. Maybe he gets a shot again as a play caller, right? I've seen how he is with players. He holds them to a high standard. He's tough on them. Hey, you didn't run your route right, or you hit the hole wrong, or why aren't we hip to hip on this double team block? Maybe that's the guy they need. They need a guy that can kick him in the rear end. If you hire Stefanski, he's got to be his OC, but half the time he doesn't even call plays. This is the second year in a row, I'm pretty sure, that he's given up play calling duties. Yeah, I mean, then you look at Brian Dable, but Brian Dable is another guy that if you hire an experienced coach, because I think the situation in New York, I think he was getting the best that he could out of his players. It's just, you want to talk about a bad GM? It's the GM in New York. Once bitten, twice shy, maybe so. It's it sucks that we're here because, like you guys, I had high expectations. I spoke, right? I put myself out there saying that the Falcons would prove everyone wrong, but instead they proved everyone else right. It sucks. Canales and Grizzard were both first-time play callers, but I kind of agree. Can't have a rookie play caller and an inexperienced or rookie quarterback. Right. A record of 33 and 56 signals that you suck. Hey, if you missed the earlier part of the show, are you the same person you were 15 years ago? I'd like to think no. So, Raheem admits that he was very arrogant in his youth and he thought he knew everything. So, even though it would be a shaky question for the next head coach, pretty sure Blank's main thing will be asking what the plans for Penix and the Q. Absolutely. What are you going to do with Michael? Because we know Michael needs to work on his footwork, needs to work on his hip detachment from his arm, right? He relies too much on his arm, and that's where the accuracy issues come. My personal life be falconing too. Hey man, it'd be like that sometimes. Sometimes it happens to me too, man. How many people you see getting fired this season? Is Terry and Jeff gone? If we can, is Terry gone? Oh, are you saying is Terry and Jeff gone if they fire Raheem and Zach? I think so. I think they would start fresh and new. And Ulbrich wouldn't wait around, honestly, for for the new head coach to say, "Yeah, I'm going to keep you or not." Right? He's going to go look for an opportunity. Our pass rush improved. Everyone proved everyone wrong. So there's that. Yeah, we can hang our hat on that one, right? He still seems arrogant. Maybe I think Arthur Smith was more arrogant than Raheem is, but that's just me. Penix got bricks for feet. I don't know what you mean by that, but when I say his foot, are you talking about he doesn't run? He wasn't a runner in Washington either, right? He was a runner in Indiana, and that cost him his ACL a time or two. But as far as his footwork goes, he has this little hitch when he gets ready. It's like he's got his feet set, but when he goes to, instead of driving off that back foot and having his toe and hips pointed in the direction that he wants to throw, he like almost hops and then throws. Well, you lose the majority of your power. It's just his arm is so strong that he's able to still rifle it in there. That's what I mean. He's got to work on his footwork and his technicality, and that's what's the worst part of him having this season-ending injury, because you look at it and you say, okay, it didn't work out. You see the flaws, you see the problems. At least he can go into the offseason and work on them, get better, like a Josh Allen did, right? We saw Josh Allen's accuracy increase significantly because he worked on his technical side of being a quarterback. But now he can't even do that because he's focused on getting his knee right. And so now it's like we're even further behind. So I love Michael. I think Michael's a great human being, and I think he can be that guy. But ultimately in the NFL, it's about winning. And if you can't help the team win, well, you get left behind. So it's going to be interesting to see when he's actually ready to return to play. We definitely got monkey's paw wish with fixing the pass rush. Pass rush was been elite this season. Everything else, booty cheeks. Now, guys, keep in mind it's taken it a while, but we are finally starting to see results on only rushing four. Before it was a super heavy blitz because Ulbrich said, if you don't want me to blitz, we'll get there with four. If you can't, then I have to send guys. And so we were super blitz heavy, and who cares, right? You're getting the quarterback to the ground, you're pressuring them, you're getting them off the spot. That's the whole point. That in his preseason presser, he talked about, yes, sacks are great, but pressures and throwing off the timing is what we're looking for, and that's what's happened. And to see Jalen Walker and those young guys starting to really come along, that's a good sign. Has very limited pocket mobility. Clearly doesn't like under center. Don't know if that's the play caller, but we've seen bootlegs and play action with Kirk that wasn't present with Penix. I think you missed the earlier part of the show. Is why isn't he doing that? Why has he not been working on that since last year when he was the backup? That's my question because you think about this, right? Kirk was forced to be in the pistol when he is strictly an under center play action pass guy. He loves having his back turned to the defense. Yeah, okay, the Achilles, he's still recovering from it. Okay, why didn't you see it later down in the year when Kirk was struggling, right? It's just it's coaching malpractice in my opinion. Secondary been okay, first and second down, just not third. It happens when you can't get pressure on third down. It hurts them, right? It's in jeopardy. Definitely need to start Jalen and JPJ over the vets. If you didn't see the recently released depth chart, Jalen Walker is officially a starter for our defense. Mostly 5-man blitzes creating one-on-ones. Hey, that's great. You're winning your one-on-one. Hey, most college quarterbacks live in the shotgun and the pistol, and they have a 6 preseason games for reps. I simply can't understand the thing that he's so bad under center that made. Hey, I agree with you, man. You got to get the reps in order to get better, and the fact that the coaching staff didn't push Michael to get better under center and play action, that's on them. That's on them. As a coach and as a teacher, you have to push your players and your students to be better. Penix played under center perfectly fine last year. Yeah, could have been better. I wouldn't say perfect, perfectly fine, but I do think he had instances where it's like, yeah, he can do this. Yeah, I missed the first part. My bad. No worries, man. No worries. I floated around the idea before. I want a quarterback in the third to compete back up Penix. 5 season enders in 8 years. That's enough to end a career. Hey, it's the unfortunate side, right? You try and you get hit right the certain way, your foot catches us right the certain way. These things are freak accidents, guys. Like, it's unfortunate. It really is because much like, Penix has had all these injuries, Billy Bowman Jr. has never had surgery and he just ruptured his Achilles in a walkthrough. Things like that can happen. That's the nature of the beast in sports. Injuries, unfortunately, are the negative side of playing sports. Do you think Raheem influences Jeff's defensive scheme on backing corners off on third down? Reminds me last year of Jimmy Puddles. No, no, and yes, right? Raheem's methodology is there, but Jeff is in charge of doing it. And to your point, this is where I think Jeff Ulbrich falls short because it's like, why are you giving cushion? Why are you giving 8-yard cushion when they need 9 yards, right? If you're going to send 5, press your corners, right? Jam them, throw the timing off. Don't give those easy completions. So that's why I think Jeff Ulbrich still needs to improve. I don't think he's a perfect coordinator. I think he's helped us improve, but he's still lacking as well. Michael Penix, best play in college was under center. I don't know about that excuse. That's fine. I really do hope we keep him. I really do believe in him. Are you talking about Michael? I think you are. I don't blame Mike. Still don't think Mike sucks. I don't either. And he's shown enough to have those attributes and traits that you want to be able to be your franchise guy, right? Again, it's an unfortunate thing that he was injured again. We don't wish injuries upon anyone. I was in Atlanta at that game when it happened, and I saw him throw his helmet, and I was like, "Oh no!" Like, please, please don't let it happen, and it did. Ulbrich running that Todd Bowles third down defense, 8-yard separation on 3rd and 6. Right? It's you could nitpick a lot of things, and that's my biggest thing and biggest gripe with Jeff Ulbrich in certain situations. Right? You're sending pressure, you're getting pressure. You see that pressure. Like, for example, Bryce Young in Atlanta was getting pressured and was throwing the timing off. And then in certain instances, you're only rushing 4 or even rushing 3. You need to get pressure on this guy. He obviously does not thrive under pressure. And like the Carolina game and the New York game, like those things, they slip out of your fingers because, a good offensive play call was called. And because you can't get pressure, the quarterback's able to find the open man. That's where I think Jeff Ulbrich lacks. Guys, we're creeping up on an hour. We're creeping up on an hour. I'm going to have to wrap it up here. The missus is waiting for me. Guys, I appreciate you all the comments, all of, all of you being here. Um, for the time being, reporting eligible will be a one-man show. Berto's going through some personal issues. Just keep him in your thoughts. Pray for the man. He's okay, but he's just going through a lot right now. Berto, again, if you're watching, man, we're thinking of you. And we'll see. Don't temper your expectations this week against Seattle. Expect a blowout, but also don't be surprised if the Falcons, for whatever reason, win this game for nothing else more than pride. Um, it is what it is. As always, guys, you can catch me on at Dirty Bird Central, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, Shorts, and Reels and TikToks. That's where you can find me. Long form content has been paused for this season. Life's been just a little busy for me this year, where I can't just sit down and make that long form content. And as always, guys, excuse me. And as always, at BK squared 7 on Twitter. Why? Because I am lazy and I drag my feet on changing my name to Dirty Bird Central. Either way, daily tweets and thoughts, everything Falcons and NFL and college too, right? The college football playoff is right around the corner, and my Texas Tech Red Raiders are the number 4 seed as of right now. Big 12 championship loading for them. I know I got a lot of Bulldog fans in the chat. How about those Dogs? Another SEC title game on the horizon for them. But until next time, guys, I appreciate you guys being here. Love you guys, and I'll see you next week. Peace.